Oman hosted today a new round of UN-sponsored prisoner swap talks between government and Houthi militia. U.S. envoy Tim Lenderking visits Saudi Arabia and Oman to discuss Red Sea attacks and Houthi detentions of UN staff. The Israeli occupation army expands offensive in the north and south of Gaza. Good evening, welcome to Yemen Today News. I am Abir Ali. A new round of negotiations began between the Yemeni government and the Houthi group regarding prisoners and detainees today in the Omani capital, Muscat, under the auspices of the United Nations and the Red Cross. The spokesman for the government delegation said the main goal of this round is to discuss the total release of all prisoners and abductees without discrimination on the basis of all for all. The Association of Mothers and Abductees sent an urgent call to demand the immediate release of all detainees. The association called for the necessity of placing the detainees issue at the top of the negotiations priorities and for the immediate release of the kidnapped persons without conditions.
We call the parties to reveal the whereabouts of the forcibly disappeared by virtue of the covenant to reveal the truth about where are the forcibly disappeared people. We call upon you to place humanity over any other consideration. The pain of the forcibly disappeared persons and their families need your utmost consideration.
The American Special Envoy to Yemen, Tim Lenderking, began a new Gulf tour as a part of the ongoing efforts to stop the Houthi naval attacks. The U.S. State Department said in a statement that the envoy Lenderking is traveling this week to Saudi Arabia and Oman to continue discussions with partners regarding the Houthis' recent arrest of UN employees and efforts to ensure an immediate cessation of Houthi attacks in the Red Sea. The British Maritime Trade Operations Authority said on Sunday that it had received a report of an incident 13 nautical miles southwest of the Yemeni port of Makha. The Yemeni Houthi group, allied with Iran, has been launching drone and missile attacks since November, saying it is doing so in solidarity with the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip against Israel. More is in the following report.
The Houthi rebels have claimed to have hit 4 ships in the Red Sea and the Mediterranean with missiles. Houthi military spokesman claimed that the group made 4 attacks on ships in the Red Sea and the Mediterranean. The Houthis have been known to exaggerate their claims that they are supporting Palestinians through their attacks in the Red Sea. The United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operations said on Sunday it had received a report of an incident 13 nautical miles southwest of Yemen's Makha, but that the vessel and its crew were safe. The UK Maritime Advisory Note said that a merchant vessel had reported being approached by 12 small craft, which remained in the vicinity of the vessel for about an hour before leaving the area. The vessel and crew were reported safe, and the vessel is proceeding to its next port of call, as the advisory note added. The Houthi militia has been launching drone and missile strikes in shipping lanes since November, saying that it acts in solidarity with Palestinians in Israel's war in Gaza. In dozens of attacks, the Houthis have sunk 2 vessels, seized another, and killed at least 3 seafarers. A Houthi leader has asserted responsibility for targeting 153 ships in a hidden maritime campaign, supposedly in solidarity with Palestinians in Gaza. This escalation coincides with ongoing U.S.-led efforts to protect shipping lanes in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden. Since November 19, the Houthis have conducted attacks in the Red Sea, Gulf of Aden, and Indian Ocean, aiming to disrupt Israeli-linked and other vessels, including those from the US and UK. They recently expanded their operations to the Mediterranean, claiming strikes on Israeli ports in collaboration with Iran-backed groups.
Government forces in Taiz Governorate thwarted two infiltration attempts by the terrorist Houthi militia. The media center for the Taiz Axis stated that the government forces, backed by popular resistance, thwarted two infiltration attempts by Houthi militia members last night. The Houthi militia renewed its targeting of sites under the control of government forces in Taiz Governorate. Iranian drones belonging to the terrorist Houthi militia targeted military sites in Shaba Governorate, southwest of the country, without causing human or material losses. Military sources reported that drones belonging to the Iranian Houthi militia attempted to target sites belonging to the 2nd Brigade and the 5th Shaba Defense Brigade during the past hours. Several fronts witnessed the fight of Houthi drones, especially in Taiz Governorate. 2 people were killed and at least 4 others were injured following clashes between tribal militants in Shaba Governorate, southeastern Yemen. Also in Sana'a and Al Jawf Governorate, tribal clashes have escalated in the areas under the control of the Iran-backed Houthi militia. The confrontations broke out over a dispute over a piece of land.
Hi, I'm Ghera from Gaza. I just want to tell you one thing. Your word is your weapon. Don't say I can't. Don't say I'm tired. Don't say I'm done. No. Our Palestinian issue is the issue for the whole world, especially here in Gaza. We are starving. We are so tired. So please talk about Gaza all the time. If you just have one follower, this one follower can make lots of differences. Please stand with us and don't leave us alone. Please. Thank you from Gaza. Thank you from my home. My home.
Medical sources said that the toll of the Israeli occupation aggression against the Gaza Strip has risen to 37,877, the majority of whom are women and children, and 87,969 injured since October 7th last year. More is in the following report.
Israeli forces reportedly killed at least 6 Palestinians and destroyed multiple homes as they moved farther into a neighborhood in northern Gaza and into western and central Rafah in the south. Israeli tanks returned to Shaja'ah 4 days ago and fired shells at multiple houses, trapping families inside and preventing them from leaving, according to residents. More than 8 months into Israel's air and ground offensive in Gaza, and Arab mediators' efforts backed by the U.S. have so far failed to achieve a ceasefire. Hamas insists that any agreement must end the war and result in a complete Israeli pullout from Gaza. In Rafah, near the Egyptian border, Israeli tanks pushed deeper into numerous areas in the city's east, west, and center, while medics reported 6 persons dead in an Israeli strike on a house in Shabura. According to Gaza Health Ministry, Israel's offensive has killed approximately 38,000 Palestinians and destroyed the densely populated coastal territory. The United Nations announced that humanitarian workers have begun transporting tons of aid that accumulated at a U.S.-built pier off the coast of Gaza to warehouses in the besieged Palestinian territory. This is a significant step as Washington decides whether to resume pier operations after yet another pause due to high seas. Also, this is the first time trucks have moved aid from the pier since June 9, when the World Food Program, a United Nations organization, ceased operations due to security concerns. According to the U.S. military, about £10 million have been transported ashore last week.
Thousands of Israelis took to the streets once again in several cities to demand the release of hostages and holding new elections. Similar protests were also organized to demand the release of hostages and against the government of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Jerusalem, Haifa and Beersheba in front of Netanyahu's residence. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi affirmed that the brutal Israeli war on Gaza Strip revealed the absence of the conscience of humanity. Al-Sisi said in a speech on the occasion of the anniversary of June 30th revolution that the region is going through serious changes during the recent period. He added that the international community turned its face away from tens of thousands of innocent displaced and afflicted victims and malicious attempts to impose forced displacement towards the lands of Egypt. Coming up in the news. Yemeni high school students start final exams in the liberated areas amid hot summer. Welcome back. The high school exams are taking place in Yemen amid high temperatures. About 90,000 students, both male and females, began their high school exams on Sunday in the liberated areas. More is in the following report.
Male and female students in Hodeidah Governorate are taking secondary exams for the academic year in hot weather. According to an educational source, 615 male and female students are doing the final secondary exams in the scientific section, and the students take their exams in an atmosphere of calm and stability. However, male and female students in the city of Hais complain about the lack of electricity in the exam halls, which leads to a disrupting atmosphere in the exams as a result of not providing the simplest things.
Students are doing their exams for the year 2024 in Al-Hodeidah amid a calm and stable atmosphere. They only lack electricity as the area is extremely hot.
The Ministry of Education said in a statement that 89,000 male and female students will begin taking the high school certificate exams in its scientific and literary sections for the academic year 2024 in 14 governorates within the influence of the recognized government in addition to its embassies abroad.
All students are heading to exams halls in the morning amid calm procedures and arrangements. The Education Office is ready to receive any instruction that would help in facilitating the exams process.
The statement added that the Supreme Committee for Examinations, through its supervisory and subcommittees, has completed all the technical logistical preparations and arrangements for the preparation plan for the secondary school certificate exams at the internal and external levels. The committee stressed the need to adhere to all controls and regulations regarding the testing process, not to allow any student to enter the testing centers without their seat number, and to stand firmly against any center that doesn't adhere to these controls.
The Ministry of Agriculture, Irrigation and Fisheries in Aden revealed that about 97% of the lands in Yemen are threatened by desertification to varying degrees. Desertification and land degradation increased from 8.7% in 2015 to 17.54% in 2019, and the drought index also increased, affecting population and biodiversity. The Yemeni Tourism Federation called on the Houthi militia to release the aircraft it's holding in Sana'a. The union expressed its strong condemnation of the detention of planes at Sana'a airport, demanding their immediate release to alleviate the suffering of pilgrims and citizens. The Yemeni government formed a committee to follow up the militia's holding of the planes at Sana'a airport. More is in the following report.
The Yemeni Presidential Command Council described the Houthi seizure of 3 Yemeni airplanes in Sana'a as a full-fledged terrorist operation and announced the formation of a crisis cell to follow up on this file, while renewing its support for the central bank's measures aimed at protecting the banking sector. A few days ago, the Iran-backed Houthi group seized 3 planes at Sana'a airport and prevented them from returning to Jeddah to transport the rest of the pilgrims, which led to about 1,300 pilgrims remaining stranded. The official media reported that the PLC held an extraordinary meeting headed by Rashad Al-Alimi and the members of the council. The meeting discussed developments in the national situation at all levels and the repercussions of the Houthis' hijacking of 3 Yemeni Airlines planes, detaining them along with their navigational and technical crews at Sana'a airport. The meeting touched on the economic conditions and the measures taken to achieve monetary and service stability and to alleviate the human suffering exacerbated by the Houthi attacks on oil installations and international shipping lines. The Yemeni Presidential Council praised Saudi Arabia's transfer of new batch of the grant provided to the general budget and its keenness to support the Leadership Council and the government in order to fulfill the state's inevitable obligations. The Yemeni Governing Council confirmed that the Houthis' hijacking of the aircraft of the Yemeni Airlines Company is a full-fledged terrorist operation, in addition to the group's grave violations that have affected national and foreign air and sea carriers over the past years. The PLC discussed the ongoing arrangements in Muscat to hold a new round of consultations on the file of detainees, abductees, and forcibly disappeared persons. Under the auspices of the UN and the International Committee of the Red Cross, Yemeni Governing Council renewed its keenness to support efforts aimed at ending the suffering of detainees, kidnapped and disappeared persons, and returning them with their families.
Archaeology researcher Abdullah Mohsen renewed his condemnation of the state of indifference in dealing with smuggling antiquities abroad. He added that in London, a number of Yemeni antiquities will be displayed at Christie's private auction house on July 3rd and other auctions, while researcher Mohsen pointed out the lack of transparency regarding the source of most of the Yemeni antiquities displayed at auctions. The health authorities in Taz received a new medical shipment provided by Kuwait to support the health sector. The shipment included medicines and medical supplies for the dialysis center at the Republican Hospital, the cancer centers and limb industry in Taz, funded by the Kuwait Zakat House and implemented by Al-Hikma Al-Yemeniya Society. Here is a reminder of the main headlines. Oman hosted a new round of UN-sponsored prisoner swap talks between government and Houthi militia. U.S. envoy Tim Landerking visits Saudi Arabia and Oman to discuss the Red Sea attacks and Houthi detentions of UN staff. The Israeli occupation army expands offensive in North and South Gaza. This is the end of the news. Thank you for streaming with us. It was Abir Ali.